making plans for Nigel.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the EV Puzzle. Yep, need to do an update on August's solar generation, so that's the video for today. It's been a record month, 555.4 kilowatt hours generated for the month. That's 5% more than July and 4% better than May. So yep, it was a really good month. So weather-wise, why was it a better month? What was the difference? Well, we only had 2 dull days, 2 days of less than 10 kilowatt hours generated. We had a good number, 11 days generating more than 20 kilowatt hours. So it was 11 really sunny days, only 2 dull days. And that's the difference. The average was much higher, it's into the teens and the high teens. So whereas we had more dull days in the other months compared to some really high generating days, August was just higher in most days. The average was higher. And yeah, was it as good? But probably not. Even though it generated more kilowatt hours for the entire month, the sun was so hazy that I did notice that we peaked at around 3.1 kilowatts from the array, even though it's a 3.9 kilowatt system. And yeah, that 20% odd that was lost because of the haziness and the heat, because it was 30-35 degrees on many days. That was quite surprising how much loss there was. So actually, the April-May time, where the skies were clearer and there was less haze, we were generating higher amounts and it was probably more usable. So even though there was more kilowatt hours generated for the entire month, it didn't feel like it was actually the best month. So the peak day in August was 24.6 kilowatt hours generated for the day, but the peak that we had in May on the 15th was 28.8. So 28.8 versus 24.6, that's 17% less for the peak day, even though we ended up with a peak month. And that sort of sums it up. On to grid use. Yeah, I used even more grid energy this month, 132 kilowatt hours for the entire month, which is a lot more than normal. If you look at what I've generated in April, May, June time, I was using a lot less grid energy because I was taking a lot more care about not using it and trying to maximize solar usage only. And yeah, since July and August, I have used a lot more. And I think there are several reasons for that. Firstly, I bought an air conditioning unit because the weather was so hot, 30-35 degrees. I did want one cool room, so I had been running that throughout the day constantly and also some of the night as well. So some of the grid energy is because of the air conditioning unit. Heating the hot water, well, I have been doing it differently. Over July and August, I've been heating it every single day. Immersion going on, whatever the weather, whatever the day, it has gone on. I've tried to maximise it. I've tried to put it on when it's at peak when I can. But if I know I'm going out at, say, 9 in the morning, I'm flicking it on anyway to maximise solar. So I am using more grid energy. In the earlier months, April, May, June, I was taking a lot more care and I wasn't actually heating the hot water if there wasn't enough sun to do it at a very high percentage of 70, 80, 90% solar usage to heat the hot water. So because I'm more carefree in July and August, I've consumed more energy from the grid to heat the hot water. So that's a second reason why it's been happening. I think on average at the moment, I'm heating the hot water using about 1.75 kilowatt hours of energy from the grid, and the rest is coming from solar. Another thing for July and August, we've got our teenager home again. She boards at school during the week, and weekends she comes home, or sometimes she stays at school, but during the summer holidays she's here continuously. So yeah, teenagers use more electricity. She's quite independent, does her own cooking, so we cook multiple times. There's a lot more water used. Yeah, teenagers, hot water, showers, yeah, you know the story. And as always, we've had a couple of longer trips in the Kona. You can't help but go on long trips when you've got a nice long-range Kona. And therefore we have charged to 100% overnight, and because of that I have consumed 33 kilowatt hours of energy from the grid to charge the Kona. Just 33 though. 154 kilowatt hours came from the solar system, so that's 82% was from solar for free, 18% for the month came from the grid. And those units of electricity, 33.56 times 13 pence, which was my rate for electricity, is £4.36. So I've spent £4.36 to do 1,211 miles this month. Pretty impressed with that. So in total I've spent, what is it, a third of a pence per mile on average for the month. A third of a pence, really, really good. If all of those miles were from just house electricity at 13 pence a kilowatt hour and not the solar, if I didn't have solar, that would have cost £24.40 for 1,211 miles. That's only 2 pence a mile. So even if I didn't have solar, it would only be 2 pence a mile. But because I've got solar, it's a third of a pence. A really big difference. Another thing I can equate that to, 65 miles per gallon in my old diesel Fiesta would have been 1 gallon, and 1 gallon roughly costs £5.80 now in the UK. So 65 miles at 2 pence on just electricity, forget the solar side of things, would have been £1.30. So there's the comparison. If I had the diesel car still, I would have spent £5.80 for every 65 miles, whereas for my Kona Electric, charging it from just the energy from the grid and paying for every kilowatt hour would only be £1.30. That's a big, big difference. So you can see with just that example how economical electric cars really are. One of the other things to comment at the moment is when I installed the solar array, E.ON, the company that installed it, said and estimated that I would be generating 3,763 kilowatt hours per annum, and that equates to 960 kilowatt hours per kilowatt of solar power installed. That's a pretty good number. But when I look at how much I've generated so far, as at the 1st of September, I was at 3,410 kilowatt hours, generating from January the 9th it was installed. So that's basically going to mean during September I'm going to exceed the estimate for the entire year for the solar to be generated. So once I've done that, once I've reached 3,763, everything else is over that estimate. And that looks like all of October, November and December are all going to be in excess of the estimated amount that I'm going to generate. So the estimate that E.ON gave me looks really conservative. How many am I actually going to generate? Well, let's have a think about it. 3,400 now, add September, which is going to be, well, let's say 400, because it probably isn't going to be a 500 kilowatt hour month. So that's going to put me at 3,800. And then you've got October, November and December. So let's call it 300, 200 and 100. So that's another 600 plus the 4,400. It's quite plausible I'm going to generate 700 kilowatt hours more than they estimated. All because of the angle of my roof, maybe, because of the actual weather this year has been better than perhaps they normally predict, or perhaps it's the direct south facing that I have, that I'm picking up a lot of sunlight. But they should have taken that into account into the calculations. Anyway, it makes me happy, doesn't it, that I am generating more than they said in the estimate. Obviously, if I was generating less, I wouldn't be very happy. I might even be complaining to them. So it's nice to be exceeding more than the estimate. There's a few things that are still going on with my configuration and in my mind about them, and I think I'll cover those in separate videos rather than make this video a really long one. One is net energy metering. And again, I'll talk about that separately. But there seems to me to be the potential for net energy metering to negate the need for having a storage battery at home. So that could be a big cost saving. So I'll try and cover my thoughts on that in a separate video. Second one, yep, the solar array and adding more panels. Should I do it? Am I going to do it? And how does that compare to the benefit of adding a storage battery? And the third one, yeah, a solar diverter to divert the solar energy from the solar panels and heat my hot water automatically to save me turning this damned immersion switch on and off. I've finally come to a conclusion, and I'd like to share that with you and my reasoning why and why it's taken me so long to decide what to go for. Thanks everyone for watching. I was told the other day that my videos are a bit like Fun with Flags from Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory. So yeah, pretty boring. It's geeky stuff, isn't it? Solar, stats, kilowatt hours. But yeah, some of us like that stuff. I hope you did. I hope there was some useful stuff in there. And come back and see the other videos. Hopefully we can share all this information together. Thanks for watching everyone. See you again soon. Bye-bye.